They say life can change in an instant. For Ethan Cross, it changed in exactly 12 seconds. What if the most terrifying moment of your life, the one where you face your greatest fear, also brings you face to face with an unexpected miracle? Before we dive into this heart-stopping tale of destiny and profound transformation, hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and tell us in the comments if you believe in miracles. One moment, Ethan Cross was sipping overpriced espresso on the terrace of his Manhattan penthouse, idly scrolling through a finance report he'd already read twice. The next, his world tilted, spun, shattered into a million pieces. His 5-year-old son, Alex, was choking. The nanny screamed. Ethan froze for the first 2 seconds, his heart slamming into a frantic panic. The sound of his porcelain cup shattering on the marble floor was somehow quieter than his own ragged breath. The boy's face was turning blue. Alex's wide eyes, filled with terror, clawed at his throat. No sound, no air. It was supposed to be a normal Tuesday morning. Now he was watching his son die. Then, suddenly, a woman he didn't recognize was on her knees beside Alex. She'd been in the building lobby, he would later learn. A pediatric nurse named Dr. Olivia Hayes, visiting her mother on the floor below. She heard the frantic screams from the hallway, burst into the apartment without asking, and dropped to her knees with terrifying, clinical calm. 911 is on the way, someone stammered, frantically dialing. But Olivia didn't wait. She positioned herself behind Alex and began the Heimlich maneuver. Quick, sharp, focused. 1, 2, 3 thrusts, then a violent gag. A small, colorful piece of candy hit the polished floor. Alex gasped, cried, breathed. The air rushed back into Ethan's own lungs. 2. A gasping, ragged relief. The room erupted. Relief, sobs, applause. But Ethan didn't move. He just stared at the woman on the floor, who gently cradled his son's head and whispered, "You're okay, buddy. You're safe. You're okay." In that moment, she wasn't just a stranger. She was a miracle. Olivia didn't wait for thanks. When the paramedics arrived and Alex was declared stable, she calmly gave her name and credentials, scribbled a few concise notes for the ER team, and stood to leave. Ethan, finally shaking off his shock, stepped in her way. "Wait." She turned, her expression tired, but polite. "Yes, Mr. Cross? How do you know who I am?" he asked, startled. She gave a soft, knowing smile. "You own the building. You're constantly on the news. You donated $1 million to Sloan Pediatrics last year." He blinked, surprised by her detailed knowledge. She added, "Good cause. Poor follow-through." His brows rose in a sharp arch. "You didn't visit the wing. You didn't meet the kids. You just signed the check and left." His jaw tensed. "And how do you know that?" "I work there." Olivia turned to go, a quiet resolve in her posture. He stepped forward again, blocking her path. "Let me thank you properly." "You already did." "No," he insisted, his voice raw with a sincerity that surprised even himself. "I mean it. Dinner. Anything." She paused, then truly looked at him. Ethan Cross, CEO of Cross Global, Forbes cover darling, widowed, emotionally unavailable billionaire with a sharp jaw and an even sharper tongue. "I'm not a story you can turn into a headline," she said, her voice even. "I'm not asking for a story," he replied, his gaze unwavering. Their eyes held for a beat too long, a silent acknowledgement of something more, something undefined. Then she left, leaving him alone in the quiet apartment, the echo of her words lingering in the air. What do you think of Olivia's blunt honesty? And what is the true meaning behind Ethan's sudden desire to properly thank her? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If this intriguing encounter has captivated you, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for the next part of this extraordinary story. The next day, Ethan found her. He'd had his team track down where she worked, Eastbrook Medical, Pediatric Trauma Unit. He showed up with a sprawling bouquet that cost more than a month's rent in most parts of the city and stood awkwardly in the sterile hallway, waiting for her shift to end. She looked at the flowers, then at him, a dry amusement in her eyes. That's a ridiculous number of roses. They said it was romantic, Ethan admitted, a faint blush rising to his neck. We're not dating. Yet, Ethan countered, a rare, playful glint in his gaze. She shook her head, a small smile playing on her lips, but she didn't walk away. Started slow. Lunch in the bustling hospital cafeteria. Coffee before her shifts. Shared in the quiet dawn of the city. Text messages exchanged between high-stakes meetings and late-night hospital rounds. Not overtly flirty yet, but filled with a growing, undeniable meaning. She challenged him, relentlessly calling him out when he dodged emotion, when he retreated behind his corporate facade. And somehow she made him laugh genuinely, openly, in a way no one else could. Alex, his 5-year-old son, adored her. He asked for her by name, drew countless pictures of her with imaginary sparkles in her hair, always beaming. She wasn't impressed by his money. She didn't care about his vast reputation. And maybe, just maybe, that's precisely why Ethan found himself utterly unable to stay away. What profound impact do you think Olivia's presence is having on Ethan and Alex? And what does it truly mean to find happiness after profound loss? Share your insights in the comments below. If this story of an unexpected connection is touching your heart, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for the next part of their extraordinary journey. One night, after Alex was finally asleep, Olivia came over. Not for dinner, not for a date, just to talk. Ethan poured them both wine, the amber liquid swirling in their glasses. They sat on the balcony of his penthouse, the city breathing around them, its million lights a distant, glittering carpet. Why do you always act like you're fine when you're clearly not? She asked, her voice soft but direct, cutting through the silence. He looked at her, truly seeing her. My wife, Sarah, died 5 years ago, he said, the words heavy with unspoken grief. And I still don't know how to grieve without feeling like I'm betraying her memory. Olivia's expression softened, a shared understanding in her eyes. I know what it's like to lose someone too soon. Who did you lose? He asked, surprised. She hesitated, her gaze distant for a moment. My brother, Michael. Cancer. He was 9. A profound silence settled between them, a quiet testament to shared loss. Is that why you became a pediatric nurse? He asked, the connection dawning on him. It's why I learned to breathe again. Later that night, as she stood to leave, a fragile hope in his voice, he asked, Stay. She turned, her eyes questioning. Why? Because for the first time in a long time, Ethan confessed, his voice raw with vulnerability. I don't feel like I'm just surviving. I feel alive. Olivia didn't answer with words. She simply walked to him, stepped into his space, and kissed him. Slow, real, and utterly honest. Peace never lasts long in stories like this. 2 days after their first kiss, Olivia received a call from the hospital board. An anonymous complaint. The voice on the other end said, regarding improper boundaries with a patient's family. Ethan was livid. He immediately offered his top lawyers unlimited money, all his considerable influence. But Olivia declined it all. I can fight my own battles, Ethan, she said, her voice firm, resolute. But it's my fault, he argued, the words raw with frustration. No, she replied, her gaze unwavering. It's my choice. Her eyes held his, a silent challenge. But if I lose this job, Ethan, we're done. Why? He asked, bewildered. Because I won't let myself become dependent on you. That night, he lay awake, staring at the polished ceiling of his penthouse, wondering how love could feel so right and so impossible at the same time. Ethan Cross had fought wars on Wall Street. He'd faced down ruthless CEOs, defiant senators, and scandal-hungry journalists. But nothing felt as personal, or as utterly helpless, as watching Olivia walk into a closed-door disciplinary hearing with her career on the line, knowing there wasn't a single dollar he could spend to fix it without making everything worse. He waited outside the boardroom for over an hour, pacing the hushed hallway, the silence pressing in on him. When she finally emerged, her face was unreadable, a mask of quiet resolve. Well? He asked, his stomach tightening with dread. They're suspending me, she said, her voice flat, devoid of emotion. Without pay, pending further review. On what grounds? His own voice was sharp, laced with fury. Violation of professional boundaries with the parent of a minor patient. That's absurd. You saved my son. I broke the rules, Ethan. You saved my son. I still crossed a line. She didn't cry, didn't raise her voice. She just stood there in the silent hallway, hands tucked into the pockets of her scrubs, like someone who knew exactly what it cost to be right and still lose everything. I'll fix this, he said, stepping closer, reaching for her. No, she replied, her voice softer now, but with an iron will beneath it. You'll respect that this is mine to fight. Ethan, she emphasized, her eyes holding his. I mean it. If you push this, I walk away. It was the first time Ethan truly felt the sharp, undeniable edges of her. Not just her kindness, not her strength, but her fierce boundaries. She would not be saved. Not by him, not by anyone. He watched her walk away, the echo of her footsteps louder than any boardroom silence he'd ever endured. What do you think is the true meaning behind Olivia's unwavering boundaries? And why does Ethan struggle so much with not being able to fix things with his power? Share your insights in the comments below. If this story of an independent spirit challenging powerful expectations is captivating you, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for the next part of their dramatic journey. Alex asked about Olivia that night. Is Dr. Olivia mad at us? No, buddy. Ethan lied, the word catching in his throat. Is she coming back? Alex's hopeful eyes pierced him. Ethan didn't have an answer, so he lied. She will. 3 weeks passed. No contact. Olivia had vanished into the quiet. Ethan buried himself in work, relentlessly trying to forget the curve of her smile, the fresh scent of her shampoo, the way she bit her lip when she was thinking through something complicated. But she was everywhere. In Alex's drawings, where his son invariably added sparkles to the hair of the super nurse. In the soft hum of silence that now filled the penthouse after bedtime. In the quiet, deliberate way he'd stopped drinking alone. Then one evening, he found an unassuming envelope tucked under his door. No postage stamps. No return address. Inside, a single sheet of paper. Typed, I've taken a position in San Diego. It's a children's palliative care unit. The offer came before all this. I accepted because it felt like the only place I could still do what I love. I didn't say goodbye because I didn't trust myself to mean it. Take care of Alex. And thank you for making me believe I could still feel something. Oh, Ethan sat down hard, his heart hollowed out by her words. She was gone. Just like that. He booked a flight the next morning. Not to chase her, not in anger or pursuit, but simply to think, to breathe, to understand. He took Alex with him. They went to the secluded cabin in Vermont, a place he hadn't visited since before his wife, Sarah, died. There, surrounded by dense woods, wrapped in a profound quiet broken only by the whisper of pine needles, he began to unravel. Alex, in his innocent way, asked questions. About his mom, Sarah. About Dr. Olivia. About what it meant to leave. Ethan answered him honestly as a father can when his own heart is breaking. On the fourth night, after Alex had finally fallen asleep, Ethan sat outside on the porch swing, staring at the constellations he'd never bothered to notice before. And then, finally, he cried. Not the angry, controlled kind of tears. Not the silent, stoic kind. The real kind. The kind that cleans out wounds you've pretended didn't exist for years. He cried for Sarah, the love he'd lost too soon. For Olivia, the hope he'd pushed away. And for the boy inside him who had never learned how to say, I need you, until it was far, far too late. What do you think is the true meaning of grief, and how does it reshape us? And do you believe Ethan's raw honesty with Alex is a step towards his own healing? Share your insights in the comments below. If this story of profound loss and the first steps towards healing resonates with you, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for the next part of their journey.
Mình sẽ tiếp tục với phần 5 ngay bây giờ nhé.
Okay. Show thinking. Here's part 5 of your story. Part 5. A drawing, a hopeful return. Back in the city, Olivia settled into her new life. The San Diego Palliative Care Unit was smaller, quieter, less chaotic than the trauma unit. More heartbreak, certainly, but it felt honest, raw, and true. She missed Alex most of all. She dreamed of him sometimes. His little arms around her neck, the way he used to call her, Super Olivia. She missed Ethan too. Not the billionaire. Not the headlines. Just the man who brought her coffee at sunrise and looked at her like she was the first honest thing he'd seen in a decade. Then one afternoon, walking past a small bookstore near the hospital, she stopped dead. Taped to the front window was a child's drawing. It was Alex's. She knew the art style instantly. The crooked trees, the whimsical rocket ship, the bright, uninhibited colors. And beneath it, in shaky block letters, for Olivia, come home. Her chest cracked open. A wave of emotion so powerful it stole her breath. She stepped inside, heart racing, scanning every face. He wasn't there. Not Alex. Not Ethan. But behind the counter, the clerk smiled knowingly. You're Olivia? She nodded, barely holding herself together. The clerk handed her an envelope. Inside, a single handwritten letter. You told me not to chase you, it began, in Ethan's familiar, elegant script. So I didn't. But I needed you to know. Alex hasn't stopped asking for you. And I haven't stopped hoping you'd forgive me for being someone you had to walk away from. We're in Vermont for the next 2 weeks. The cabin address is on the back of this letter. There's no pressure. Just an open door. Love, E. She stood in the bookstore for a long, timeless moment, the letter clutched in her hand, her pulse shaking, her heart, dormant for so long, slowly, painfully, waking up. What do you think is the true meaning of an open door when so much has been lost? And how will Olivia overcome her fear to step through it? Share your insights in the comments below. If this story of second chances and profound emotional awakening is gripping you, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for the next heartwarming chapter. Olivia didn't decide right away. She held the letter for a full day, tucking it into the pocket of her coat, unfolding it a dozen times, rereading it every time the fear in her chest got too loud. She told herself it wasn't a good idea, that going to Vermont would only reopen something that was already bleeding. But there was a drawing taped to the front window of a bookstore 3,000 miles from Manhattan, made by a 5-year-old boy who still called her his favorite person. And that mattered. It mattered more than pride, more than fear, more than the pieces of her heart she had tried to patch together on her own. She packed a small bag, told her new supervisor she needed a few days, booked a last-minute flight to Burlington, rented a car, and drove through a fog-draped countryside with the windows cracked and the heater on full blast. Vermont was colder than she remembered, or maybe she just felt smaller inside the vast, hushed silence. The cabin was tucked into the very edge of a dense pine forest, perched above a quiet, mirror-smooth lake. When she stepped onto the porch, suitcase in hand, she didn't know what to expect. Ethan opened the door before she could even knock. For a moment, neither of them spoke, the air thick with unspoken emotions. Then Alex's voice, a joyful shout, broke the tension. Olivia! He barreled into her legs, nearly knocking her over. She dropped to her knees, hugging him so tightly he squealed with delight. I missed you, he said, his voice muffled against her shoulder. I missed you too, buddy, she responded, tears welling in her eyes. Ethan watched from the doorway, one hand on the frame, like he needed to ground himself against the surreal reality of her return. You came, he said softly, his voice filled with a raw, unadulterated hope. Olivia stood, nodding once. You said there'd be an open door. There always will be. The first night they said little. Alex proudly showed her his new drawings. Olivia helped him with a complicated puzzle, their heads bent close. Ethan cooked badly, but she ate every bite, grateful for the simple domesticity. He lit a fire in the hearth, and they sat there quietly, the kind of silence that feels earned. a comfort born from shared vulnerability. Later, after Alex went to bed, Olivia stepped onto the porch, drawn by the quiet beauty of the moonlit forest. Ethan followed, his presence a warm, reassuring shadow. "You didn't have to come," he said. "I know. Why did you?" She looked out at the towering trees, her gaze distant. "Because I couldn't stop hearing your son's laugh in my dreams. And because your letter didn't ask for forgiveness. It just offered a door." Ethan swallowed hard, his throat tight. "And do I get forgiveness?" "Not all at once," she responded softly, turning to face him. "But I wouldn't be here if I didn't want to try." They talked for hours, about everything and nothing. Ethan told her about Sarah's favorite song, a melancholic Chopin piece she used to play. Olivia told him how she still kept Michael's worn baseball glove in her closet. They didn't touch. They didn't need to. Just sitting beside each other felt like enough. The next morning, Olivia woke to the intoxicating smell of pancakes and the sound of laughter. She followed the joyful noise to the kitchen. Alex was on a stool, perched precariously, attempting to flip pancakes with Ethan's help. Batter was everywhere, on the counter, on their clothes, even on Alex's cheek. "Daddy said he's trying to be domestic," Alex announced proudly. Ethan smirked, a smudge of flour on his nose. "Failing spectacularly." Olivia smiled, a soft, genuine smile that reached her eyes. "You're not failing." She didn't mean the pancakes. He knew that. They stayed 4 days, allowing the cabin's quiet solitude to wrap around them, healing unseen wounds. On the third night, as the fire in the hearth burned low, Ethan handed her a wrapped package. "I wanted to give you something," he said, his voice soft. "But it's not jewelry, or flowers, or anything that costs more than $15. Inside, nestled simply, was a leather-bound journal. The first page read, "Things I never said, but should have." It was filled with short, raw entries, moments, feelings, profound regrets, and fragile hopes. The last page was blank, save for one line at the top. "If you're reading this, I love you." Olivia traced the words with her fingers, her breath catching. "I'm scared," she whispered, the honesty a painful admission. "So am I," he replied, his gaze steady, mirroring her vulnerability. "But I've lived enough years building empires. I want to spend the rest building something real." She looked at him, truly seeing the earnest desire in his eyes, the man beneath the polished facade. And this time she didn't hold back. She leaned in and kissed him, slowly, deeply, like she had been waiting her whole life to be met halfway. What profound shift has occurred in Ethan's priorities? And how does Olivia's courage inspire him to build something truly meaningful? Share your insights in the comments below. If this story of an unexpected love blooming from the ashes of grief is touching your heart, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for the next heartwarming chapter. That night, after Alex was asleep, nestled safely in his new bed in the cabin, Ethan pulled a small velvet box from the drawer by the bedside. Olivia's breath hitched, her heart leaping. "No," he said quickly, guessing her thought, a gentle smile on his lips. "Not that." He opened the box. Inside, gleaming softly, was a single silver key. "To the cabin?" she asked, bewildered. "To the next chapter," he clarified, his voice filled with a quiet promise. "Wherever we write it." She took it, closing her hand around the small metallic shape, feeling the immense weight of its symbolism. "I'm ready," she whispered. They didn't rush back to Manhattan. They let the forest hold them a little longer. Let the quiet stretch until it transformed into a profound, healing peace. They read stories by the crackling fire, cooked badly and laughed loudly, their joy echoing through the wooden beams. They fell in love, not like a sudden violent crash, but like a sunrise, slow, certain, undeniable, warming them from the inside out. They returned to Manhattan in early spring, the city shedding its winter skin beneath a veil of early blooms and golden light. Olivia moved into Ethan's penthouse, not because he asked, but because one evening she brought over a small bag and simply never took it back. Her scrubs began appearing in his laundry, Her favorite mug claimed a spot beside his on the kitchen shelf, and Alex, his 5-year-old son, began referring to her room as Mom's room, without hesitation or instruction. The word terrified Olivia. That weight, that profound expectation. But it warmed her too because he meant it genuinely, naturally. And Ethan never corrected him. He just smiled. A quiet, reverent expression. Like he couldn't believe this precious second chance had miraculously landed in his lap. Olivia started working again, part-time, at a non-profit children's clinic downtown. It wasn't the high-stakes pediatric trauma unit she'd left behind, but it felt good, felt clean, felt impactful. And, most importantly, it was entirely hers. She made her own rules this time, drew her own lines. Her identity no longer hung on a hospital badge or defined by sacrifice. She was meticulously building a life. One with boundaries. One with balance. Then came the gala. A prestigious benefit for pediatric mental health, hosted at one of Ethan's sleek downtown properties. He insisted Olivia attend, not merely as his date, but as the evening's keynote speaker. They asked for someone who's lived it on both sides, he said, his eyes earnest. And you're the only person I trust with that kind of truth. Olivia hesitated. Public speaking wasn't her thing. Spotlights weren't her thing. Standing in front of a ballroom full of powerful billionaires, cunning politicians, and perfectly polished, impossibly elegant women? Definitely not her thing. But she said yes anyway, because growth, she knew, often comes wrapped in discomfort. That night, she wore a navy satin gown, and a borrowed courage that shimmered like the fabric. Ethan watched her from across the vast, glittering room like he was seeing something truly sacred, his gaze unwavering, filled with profound reverence. What do you think is the true power of sharing one's authentic story, especially after profound struggle? And how will Olivia's vulnerability resonate with such a powerful audience? Share your insights in the comments below. If this story of courage and stepping into one's truth is inspiring you, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for the next pivotal chapter. Olivia stepped onto the stage, her navy satin gown shimmering under the bright lights. Her voice trembled for only the first 5 seconds, a fragile human tremor. Then, she anchored herself, finding strength in the unwavering gazes of Ethan and Alex in the front row. I'm not here to tell you about statistics, she began, her voice steady and clear. You can read those in the program. I'm here to talk about the moments between the emergencies, the quiet heartbreaks, the impossible choices, the children who survive, the ones who don't, and the people who carry them anyway. A profound silence fell over the room, held like a collective breath. I've been in trauma rooms. I've held hands during chemo. I've walked out of hospital rooms knowing the next time I walked in, there wouldn't be a child in the bed anymore. Olivia looked directly at the powerful, polished faces in the crowd. But I've also seen miracles. I've seen healing. And I've seen what love can do when it walks in during the worst moment and stays. Her eyes flicked to Ethan, a silent, powerful acknowledgement passing between them. Healing doesn't always come in hospitals. Sometimes it comes in people. The room erupted when she finished. A wave of applause and emotional release. Ethan was the first to stand, his face radiant with pride. And afterward, when she stepped off stage, shaking and breathless from the raw emotion she had just poured out, he pulled her close and whispered, I've never been more proud of anyone in my life. But the next morning, everything changed. A news outlet ran a venomous headline, Billionaire's girlfriend accused of unprofessional conduct in pediatric unit. Someone had anonymously leaked the original complaint. The suspension, the board hearing, details were twisted, facts distorted. Anonymous quotes from hospital insiders claimed favoritism, manipulation, and blurred ethical lines. It was ugly, and it spread like wildfire. Ethan's PR team moved immediately, issuing furious denials, statements, and legal threats. But the damage was done. Olivia's non-profit clinic received dozens of angry messages. Parents pulling their kids from programs, donors threatening to withdraw support. She was publicly called a fraud, a gold digger, just another headline. What do you think is the most painful accusation Olivia faced, and why? And how will she fight back against such public slander? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If this story of resilience against injustice is gripping you, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for the next powerful revelation. Ethan wanted to burn everything down. His rage was monumental, but Olivia wouldn't let him. "I fought to be someone I could be proud of," she said, her voice quiet but firm. "I won't lose that now just because people are louder than the truth." "I can protect you," Ethan insisted, his fists clenched. "I'm not asking for protection," she replied, meeting his gaze. "I'm asking you to believe me." He did. Of course he did. But this wasn't about belief. It was about power. And Olivia was done letting hers be taken. She held a press conference. Alone. She stood before the cameras in a simple gray blazer. No makeup, no handlers, just her. "I'm not perfect," she said, her voice unwavering. "But I'm honest. I've spent my life walking into rooms people run from. I've lost patience. I've made mistakes. But I've never, not once, exploited a child for personal gain. And I certainly didn't fall in love with a man because of his bank account." She paused, her eyes scanning the faces of the journalists, holding their gaze. "I fell in love with him because he made me feel like I was more than what I'd survived." The room was silent, utterly hushed. Then someone asked, "Do you regret the relationship?" Olivia looked straight into the camera, her integrity shining through. "No," she said, "because he and his son reminded me that love can be real, even after the worst happens. And I'll never apologize for that." By nightfall, the tide had turned. The vicious story shifted. A deluge of support flooded in. Letters, donations, heartfelt apologies. The clinic swiftly reinstated her full-time. The hospital board issued a public apology. The people who mattered knew the truth. That night, as the city lights twinkled beneath them, Ethan took Olivia's hand, drawing her onto the rooftop of their building. "You didn't just save Alex," he said, his voice raw with emotion. "You saved me too." He dropped to one knee, a simple, heartfelt gesture. No velvet box, no meticulously prepared speech. Just a small gold ring, held between two fingers, shining softly in the dim light. "Marry me, Olivia Hayes." Olivia's breath caught, a choked laugh escaping her lips, tears streaming down her face. "Say that again," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "Just once, so I know it's real." "Marry me," he repeated, his voice unwavering, filled with absolute certainty. She nodded, a single joyful tear tracing a path down her cheek. "Yeah, I will. Yes." Ethan let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding, slipping the ring onto her finger before pulling her into the deepest, most heartfelt kiss of his life. And in that moment, as his lips met hers, Nicholas Carter knew. He had finally found something worth more than all the money in the world. Their wedding 1 year later was a dream, not because of a grand venue or extravagant details, but because it was real. When Olivia walked down the aisle, her eyes locked on his, Ethan knew he had never been more certain of anything in his life. But beyond the wedding, what mattered most was what they built together. With Olivia's fierce passion and Ethan's immense resources, they launched the Hayes Cross Initiative, a program dedicated to helping young women build their careers in business, providing them with the mentorship and opportunities that Olivia had once fought so hard to earn on her own. Their days were filled with profound purpose. Their nights were filled with laughter, quiet conversations, and a love that grew deeper with every shared breath. And every morning, when Ethan woke up next to the woman who had utterly changed his life, he knew. He had finally found something money could never buy: happiness, unwavering love, and a future worth everything. They spent their honeymoon in Italy. Alex came too, of course. It wasn't a conventional start to a marriage, but then, neither of them had lived conventional lives. They walked along cobbled streets in Florence, shared gooey gelato in Venice, and danced barefoot under the stars in the gardens of a small villa overlooking the coast. Olivia laughed more in those 2 weeks than she had in the last decade, her joy a symphony Ethan silently memorized. And at night, with Alex asleep in the next room. They whispered promises to each other beneath soft sheets and open windows. Not perfect, but real. Always real. This is the final part of your story. Then came the call. Late one afternoon, back in Manhattan, as the city groaned beneath the oppressive summer heat, Olivia stepped into her clinic for a regular shift and was met by her director. "There's something you should see," the woman said, handing her an unmarked envelope. Inside, a printed article draft. Unpublished. The title screamed, "The Nurse, the Billionaire, and the Other Son." Olivia's heart stopped. The article claimed Ethan had a second child. A son born of an affair during his marriage to Sarah, now living abroad. The piece insinuated Olivia had agreed to marry him only after discovering this information, as part of a quiet arrangement to keep the story from going public. It was a lie, a cruel, precise one, but it felt deeply personal, because someone had gone digging. Too deep, too close. That night, Olivia asked him, "Ethan, is there something I don't know?" He stared at her, stunned. "No," he said slowly. "There's no other child. No hidden life. I swear to you." Her voice was quiet. "Then why does this feel so specific?" He sat down, then exhaled something heavy. A truth held captive for years. "There was someone. Before you. After Sarah died. It wasn't serious. But she told me she was pregnant a few weeks before she disappeared. I hired a private investigator. She'd left the country. I never confirmed anything." He looked up, his eyes raw. Then came the call. Late one afternoon, back in Manhattan, as the city groaned beneath the oppressive summer heat, Olivia stepped into her clinic for a regular shift and was met by her director. "There's something you should see," the woman said, handing her an unmarked envelope. Inside, a printed article draft. Unpublished. The title screamed, "The Nurse, the Billionaire, and the Other Son." Olivia's heart stopped. The article claimed Ethan had a second child. A son born of an affair during his marriage to Sarah, now living abroad. The piece insinuated Olivia had agreed to marry him only after discovering this information, as part of a quiet arrangement to keep the story from going public. It was a lie, a cruel, precise one, but it felt deeply personal, because someone had gone digging. Too deep, too close. That night, Olivia asked him, "Ethan, is there something I don't know?" He stared at her, stunned. "No," he said slowly. "There's no other child. No hidden life. I swear to you." Her voice was quiet. "Then why does this feel so specific?" He sat down, then exhaled something heavy. A truth held captive for years. "There was someone. Before you. After Sarah died. It wasn't serious. But she told me she was pregnant a few weeks before she disappeared. I hired a private investigator. She'd left the country. I never confirmed anything." He looked up, his eyes raw. "I haven't told anyone, not even my lawyers, because I didn't want to chase ghosts." Olivia stood still. "Ethan, if there's even a chance." "I know." Silence filled the room. Then she asked, quietly, "What would you do if it were true?" He didn't hesitate. "I'd find him. I'd bring him home." The story leaked within days. Not the full, drafted article, but a headline, a whisper, a grainy photograph of Ethan exiting a building he hadn't entered in years. The media ran with it. Cross scandal buried by marriage? Olivia kept her head down. She went to work. She loved Alex. But she felt the shift. On the street. In the grocery store. Even at the clinic, where some parents looked at her like they weren't sure whether to admire or judge her. Ethan stayed silent publicly, fiercely protecting Olivia. Privately, he searched. Within a week, he had a name, Leo, 6 years old, living in Marseille, France, with a woman who'd changed her name and refused contact with anyone from her past. And a DNA test confirmed it. He was Ethan's son. Olivia read the report in silence, then looked at Ethan. "So what now?" "I go get him." She nodded. "I'm coming with you." Marseille was warm and quiet. The streets buzzed with summer markets and music. But Olivia could see the tension in Ethan's shoulders as they stood outside the small yellow house on the hillside. The door opened slowly. The woman who stood there was thinner than the photo, tired in the eyes, guarded. And behind her, a boy. Dark curls, big serious eyes. He looked like Alex. Ethan stepped forward. I'm not here to fight you. I just want to meet him. The woman studied him, then, after a long moment, stepped aside. And for the first time, Ethan knelt before the boy and said, Hi, Leo. I think I might be your dad. Leo said nothing, but he didn't run. And that was enough for a start. They stayed in France for 2 weeks. Olivia watched Ethan slowly build trust with a boy who'd only known shadows of him. They played cards, kicked a soccer ball, talked about space and animals and American breakfasts. Leo didn't call him Dad. Not yet. But when they said goodbye at the airport, the boy ran after Ethan and hugged him tight. Will I see you again? He asked. Ethan knelt. I promise. Back in Manhattan, Olivia tucked Alex into bed. He looked up at her with sleepy eyes. Do I still get to keep you forever? He asked, his voice small. Olivia kissed his forehead. Always. But that night, as she lay beside Ethan, he whispered something into the dark. Do you ever think this is too much for you? Olivia turned to face him, her heart overflowing. No, she said. I think life finally stopped taking and started giving. He reached for her hand beneath the covers. And I think we're just getting started. 6 months later, the Manhattan townhouse felt different. Louder, warmer, lived in. Leo was moving in. It had taken time, months of paperwork, therapy, meetings with lawyers and mediators. But Ethan had been patient, gentle, present, and Leo had responded. He still didn't call Ethan Dad, but he called him when he had a nightmare. And that meant more. Olivia, meanwhile, had become the quiet, steady center of the house. She didn't push. She listened. She gave Leo space, and he, in turn, gave her his cautious trust. Alex adjusted fast, faster than anyone expected. He told everyone he had a bonus brother, and he liked that Leo was good at Legos but bad at Mario Kart. The boys were different, one loud and imaginative, the other cautious, careful, but somehow beautifully they worked, just like the two people raising them. Olivia stepped into her clinic role full-time again. But this time it wasn't about proving anything. She focused on community programs, bringing vital care to children without access. She started a scholarship in Michael's name, her late brother's. Ethan matched every donation, but only after asking her permission. She'd earned that kind of respect. He knew better now. In late fall, as the leaves fell and the holidays approached, Ethan planned something quiet. No press. No spectacle. Just family. He brought Olivia back to the Vermont cabin one weekend. Just the two of them. They hiked, talked, held each other. And on the final night, beneath the canopy of 1,000,000 stars, he surprised her with a second ring. Simple, elegant, engraved inside with the words, "Not because I lost, but because I found." Olivia didn't cry this time. She just smiled, kissed him slowly, and whispered, "Forever." They didn't need a second wedding. They had a second life. And that was enough. Months later, Olivia found out she was pregnant. She sat with the test in the bathroom for 20 minutes. Stunned. Not scared. Just overwhelmed by the sheer joy. Ethan walked in, saw her face, and immediately dropped to his knees. "Are you okay?" he asked. She nodded, silent, then handed him the test. His eyes widened, then filled with tears. He held her for a long, quiet moment, whispering, "You're incredible," over and over until she believed it too. They told the boys together. Alex screamed with joy, throwing his arms around them both. Leo didn't say anything at first, just went quiet. Later that night, Olivia found him sitting alone on the stairs. "You okay?" He looked up. "I don't know how to be a big brother." She sat beside him. "Neither did Alex. Neither did I when I had my brother. You don't have to be perfect, Leo. You just have to be you. That's enough." He leaned into her shoulder. "Do I still get to stay?" Her throat tightened. She looked him in the eyes, her voice filled with unwavering love. You're not going anywhere. When their daughter was born, they named her Elena, after Olivia's mother. Leo held her first. Alex sang to her, off-key but full of love. Ethan cried harder than anyone, tears of pure, unadulterated joy. And Olivia, she just watched the life she never imagined unfold around her, piece by piece, like the final perfect snap of a complex puzzle. One evening, years later, Olivia stood in the hallway outside the nursery. Elena had just fallen asleep in Ethan's arms. Leo was in the living room, reading aloud to Alex. And the whole house was lit with the kind of soft, golden light that only exists when love has earned its way in, when a family is truly, deeply home. Ethan came to stand behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist, pulling her gently back against his chest. "You okay?" he asked. She leaned back into him, completely at peace. "I'm better than okay. I'm alive." He smiled, kissing the top of her head. "I never said thank you." "For what?" she whispered. "For saving Alex. For saving me." She turned in his arms, her eyes meeting his. "I didn't save you, Ethan. You let yourself be saved." Outside, snow began to fall. Soft, quiet, real. And inside, their life went on. Messy, beautiful, unscripted, true. Built not from perfect beginnings, but from second chances. Ethan Cross once thought that success was everything. That power, wealth, and control were all that mattered. But then came Olivia Hayes, the woman who proved him wrong. She wasn't just another employee. She wasn't just a passing distraction. She was his greatest challenge, his greatest lesson, his greatest love. And in the end, it wasn't power or money that changed his life. It was her. Now they stand together, not just as husband and wife, but as partners in life, in love, and in purpose. Because love isn't just about finding someone, it's about choosing them every single day. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Turn on notifications so you never miss another heartwarming, emotional tale. Because sometimes, the most unexpected stories lead to the most unforgettable love. Love has the power to change everything, if we're brave enough to let it.